Hey y'all, so I'm doing this vlog podcast thing because I think that it's important to everybody's life. I think that if you have animals, you should know about it. I think that if you eat on a daily basis, you should probably know about it. If you eat in general or like live and breathe, these are things you should all probably know. Um, I think that it's important to know what you're feeding yourself, your kids, your family. Um, I think that it's all pretty important, so that's kind of why I'm doing this whole vlog. I don't know if I'm going to call it a vlog, a podcast, thing that I'm posting, really. And I've decided to call it because I raised it, because that's kind of my main credential, is that this is kind of my passion, this is kind of what I research and look into. Um, I've had a massive feedback. Although I'm only 16, I do have people reach out to me and they want to talk about, um, what I do in terms of animal welfare, you know, GMOs. They want to talk about stuff, and I think that that's really important. And I'm really glad that people have an interest in it because it's important. It's important to know what you're eating. It's important to know what you're feeding people. Um, so I'm glad. Um, I think a lot of this is going to be based off of animal welfare stuff, because I think that that's a big misconception that people have in the farming industry, is that animal welfare isn't taken care of, but it really is, for the most part. But that's I want to give you guys like the straight facts, because I know that not everybody, especially in my following, um, is from a farming community or knows about farming. So I think that that's really important. I think that um, everybody should know, the facts about how their food is raised, um, or if they should be concerned about what they're eating. Um, so yeah, I don't want to feed you guys a bunch of crap or faulty statistics. I want to make sure everybody knows what they're eating, and I think that that's just really important. Um, so yeah, so I've been in FFA for years. I've been in 4-H for years. I used to write a magazine. I unfortunately didn't have an editor anymore, so that kind of ended. Um, but yeah, I really have a strong passion for ag communications and everything kind of along that. But so I'm just excited to see where this goes. Um, and like I said, I called this because I raised it, because that is my main credential. I do live on a farm. I do have goats, sheep, chickens, rabbits, peacocks, geese, turkeys, cows, and if I don't have it, I've worked with it. So, you know, I'm really knowledgeable on it. I'm pretty well-rounded in that sense. Um, so today I wanted to talk about animal welfare versus animal rights. It's a big thing that people really mess up. So I think that that's a really important thing that we should be talking about, because it's important to know what you believe in. For starters, it's it's not right to tell people that you believe in animal rights when you believe in animal welfare, or vice versa. So I'm glad we can get into the meat of things here. I have all of my animal science notes actually with me right here. So we can get word for word definitions that I aced, because I aced that class with a 100. So yeah. So first we're going to talk about animal welfare. Chances are this is probably what you believe in. Most of my following does. So here's a word-for-word definition of animal welfare, and it is a philosophy that animals should be treated in a kind and caring manner during the time that we are responsible for them. So this is the belief that it's okay to use animal products, and including meat, and it's okay to keep pets. So if you have a dog, you believe in animal welfare. If you eat meat, you believe in animal welfare. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite. So that's a big part of animal welfare, is that a lot of people will say that they believe in animal rights and have a pet dog. And it's like, do you though? So that's what the majority of the human race believes in, is animal welfare, because um, there are a few people who believe in animal rights. So animal rights, word for word definition, is a philosophy that animals have the same rights as humans, and that they should not be used for human consumption. Um, so I guess a vegan would be more under the animal rights column, um, but slightly hypocritical, because if they have a dog, then that would be hypocritical. If they're a vegan with no pets, then they are absolutely animal rights. So they don't believe in the consumption of meat or any use of animal products, including wool, and so, no pets, that makes you fully animal rights. Very few people fully believe in animal rights. It's majority people who have pets that don't eat meat, don't believe in animals for consumption. So, yeah. So this is an issue for what I've seen, because people, I don't like it, because a lot of people will tend to get into arguments with me online, and they will say, I just want animal welfare. Well, here's the thesis. We have animal welfare. I'll tell them how, actually in my most recent argument online, I was arguing with someone and I was saying, we are taking care of them. They are living a very happy life until their last day on earth. And their response was that they didn't care how I was giving them a happy life, but they cared that they were being murdered. So that's an animal rights thing. That's not an animal welfare thing. However, they claim to believe in animal welfare. So yeah, that was a falsy statement, and it definitely ruined the credibility of that person as a source. So it's important to sound knowledgeable, that you state what you believe correctly, and that's just, I feel like that's a pretty basic thing that a lot of people mess up. Even people who are, old pros mess it up. So I just thought that that was kind of an important point. So yeah, just kind of going through the essential questions that I had to go through so that I can make sure that I'm covering everything. Yeah. So how is media used to promote the pros and cons of these philosophies? That's a big one. Yeah. So an example of how animal welfare can be promoted through media is if you see a commercial for, like, usually the ASPCA, I believe, has the commercials where it's like a dog who was neglected by its owner and it's all skinny. That would be animal welfare, because they're saying, like, don't abuse this animal. This animal has a right to be treated properly while we're responsible for it. An example of animal rights would be, here's a very relevant topic, is like the whole PETA thing came out with, let's use non-animal degrading, I think is what they said, terms. So, like, I believe one of them was like to feed two birds with one scone instead of kill two birds with one stone. Instead of beat a dead horse, feed a fed horse. So yeah. So those were kind of examples of how the media promotes both of those things. So something that we also had to go over was the standard proper care for an animal. So basically just not neglecting the animal, feeding it, watering it, making sure it has adequate shelter. If it has an illness, taking it in to get taken care of. basic living rights, basically, you know, just like, I hate to say rights because that's such a touchy word, especially in this subject, but like, you know, you don't want to neglect the animal or let the animal hurt in any way. So the best thing you can really do is just be a decent human being and like take care of the animal, and that's basically standard care. You know, food, water, shelter, adequate care when ill, etc. Um, treatment. How does the treatment of a production animal affect profitability? So this is a big one. Mom, you're good. um, so if you have a production animal and you're like, PETA puts out a lot of videos of animal abuse, especially in production. I watch a lot of the sheep ones just because that's kind of my main focus. And there are a lot of videos of, in New Zealand, they're being kind of like cruel to the sheep as they're shearing them, punching them, you know, cruelty like that. So that's just really, really lights a fire for me. But yeah, it's dumb. Farmers don't do that, and you may be like, well, the video, yeah. So if you punch a sheep in the face until it's bleeding, it's probably gonna get infected. It will probably die. If you're gonna injure a sheep, it's probably gonna die. You know, it's a loss in your end. Yeah, that's just kind of dumb. Uh, Animals have to be treated well in order to be profitable. So I think it's kind of humorous on my end. I am an animal welfarist, in case people were wondering. I think it's kind of humorous in a sense because I had a low power mode. Because people will be like, oh, well, you're abusing the animal. Well, if I'm abusing the animal and I'm looking for nothing but money out of the animal, I'm not going to get that money, you know. So, regardless, I mean, I obviously care about all my animals, and they also all have profit that comes off of all of them, and that's just kind of a bonus, you know. I really am in it because I love them. But yeah, the profitability factor is what keeps the farm running. And so, without that, if you have an animal that's sick, injured, stressed, etc., it's not going to be a profitable animal, you know. So it's important that you, as a farmer, are taking good care of your animals, or they will not be, won't be doing so well, profitability-wise, especially. I think that's a pretty basic thing, and it shocks me how few people understand that. Why are there dilemmas for producers and consumers concerning the use of animals? That's a very good one, actually. I think a big part of it is the disconnect. And it's funny because actually both sides of this say that there's a problem with disconnect, yet there's still a problem with disconnect between the farmer and the consumers, you know? And I couldn't tell you why that is. You know, I think that a big problem is that organizations like PETA, I'm going to be quite frank here, they're going to come up with fake data, they're going to come up with the worst footage they can find, they're going to come up with statistics that are correlated. They're not. It's a real issue, and so I think when a consumer sees footage like PETA puts out, I think that they have an issue because they're looking at an animal being abused, injured, in pain, suffering, and the moral side of us says, wow, that's horrible, how can we accept that? And they're going to go to the worst of the worst. They're going to find absolute awful places that have likely been reported before, because they don't want to risk not getting footage, to get that footage, you know, and it's unfortunate those places exist, but I think that's why you have to have that connect between farmer and consumer, and that's why a lot of the meat that I eat is local, mostly because the meat that I consume comes from people I know, or my farm. it's, there's very, very little meat that I eat that is not local or mine. So I think that if you're really concerned, you should just talk to a farmer. I think that's really the biggest thing, is that you really have to talk to somebody who's in it firsthand. And you may be concerned if you're a vegan or something, you may be concerned that we would lie to you. You may think that maybe we're deceitful people. I'm going to be quite frank and quite honest. We don't have the time for that. So that's how it is. If you want to be sure that there's no abuse, suffering, anything, talk to a farmer. If you're still concerned, ask if they'll let you come out. Ask if they'll take footage of their daily work, you know. It's not that hard, you know. Or just educate yourself. Some people think that things are abusive, and they're actually better for the animal. For example, taking tails off sheep, that's actually to prevent diseases, and people think that it's painful. To prevent diseases, we wouldn't do it to hurt them. We wouldn't do it for kicks and giggles. I mean, why would we go through the work and the money of having a why? Like, there's no point. Everything that you do on the farm is done for a reason. There's no frivolous expenses, frivolous tasks. They're all done for a reason. And the final question is, how can producers combat misunderstandings in animal agriculture? And I love that question. I think that a big part of it is places like PETA going down. And unfortunately, will that ever happen? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if places like that will ever go down. But footage like PETA, it's an inaccurate depiction of what farmers are, and it really hurts us as an industry. There's a video, it's very popular on YouTube, and it's a vegan, like, protesting, fighting with a dairy farmer, old dairy farmer, God love him, and they talk about how vegans are destroying their industry and how that's what vegans want. But it's a real mess. It's a real mess to get into. And that's kind of why I'm doing this whole blog podcast thing. Is because I think it's really important. I think that it's really important that people get the opportunity to learn. I want to be a resource for people. I want people to be able to come to me and ask questions. I think that sometimes people are standoffish because they don't know me, they don't know about me, they don't know my credentials, and they may think that a 16-year-old girl isn't gonna know, you know, but I can assure you, we do. Yeah, so, oh, and another thing to combat misunderstandings is, you know, having the farmers be more open. I think that the more open you are about what goes down on your farm, the more you post videos and such, the more people are going to be willing to check that out, check your farm out. I think that's just good advertising in general. But yeah, so I think that's it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. As always, I love your controversial comments. you have a video recommendation, please message me, the.poet.in.crocs on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube. I believe this will be going on Instagram TV. Yeah. Likes, comments, subscriptions, love them all. Appreciate them. Have a great day, guys.